Good morning, fourth graders. It is Monday, March 30th, 2020, and we are starting week 3 of working from home. So just to remind you of a couple of things, on your little 15-day chart that you have, you should be here on the back on day 11. That's what today is. So I'm going to go through each of those little bullet points and remind you what you need to do for those to make sure you're completing what needs to be done. So the first one that says MobyMax Fact Fluency, 15 minutes, that means each day you should be on fact fluency for at least 15 minutes, okay? As soon as you master one set, some of you, once you get through all of division, let me know, and I can bump you up to putting 13s in your facts and knowing your 13s. If you master through 13s, let me know. I can go up to 14s. It goes up to 15s. So make sure you let me know once you've mastered one of them. I've been watching it and trying to add them in there as I see that you hit mastery, but sometimes I miss a couple people here and there. The second part is MobyMax Reading Informational Text, 15 minutes. You have a couple of options here. You can use MobyMax. You can use what's called the reading stories, and you can read one of the stories there and answer the questions. Or you can use the informational text or the literature. Can't remember exactly what it's called. There's 3 different ones on MobyMax that are all about different stories. You can also do the reading story that I give you each day. That counts for that same task there. It counts as your reading informational text. You can do the story that I give you and answer the questions that go along with it. The next one is MobyMax Language. That one you do have to do on MobyMax. Click on your language tab. I've assigned a couple of different language activities of review that we've done already, or maybe a couple of new things for you to check out in language. As always, reading for 20 minutes, and let me remind you, make sure you're recording it down on your reading log. You should be starting your week 3 one, since today is Monday, starting week 3 of your reading log and writing down what it is that you're reading for 20 minutes each day. Then the next one is 1 page front and back of your math reteach. I'll be posting the new one here for this morning for you to check out. And then the last one is Brain Pop. I've had several questions about Brain Pop. So when you're getting ready to do the Brain Pop part, log into Brain Pop, and then you can go to science or social studies and you can choose a topic that interests you, something that you want to learn about. Once you've picked your topic, write that down on the topic line, put the name of the topic of the video that you watched, take the quiz that goes along with that topic, and you can take it over again. You can watch the video over again. There's no limits to how many times you could watch it to help you out. And then record your score from your Brain Pop quiz where it says score. And then the last part is your parent initials where they check that you've done all of those things for the day. Okay? So just a little refresher of what needs to be done each day. So if on days 1 through 10, you know that there were some things that you missed, or maybe a couple days if you weren't feeling well, or your family had other things going on, you can always go back and do those, okay? Don't feel like you have to stick to it, but make sure you go back and pick up anything that you may have missed throughout the last couple weeks. All right, so starting day 11, so you should be on the back of your little chart there. Today's quote for the day of March 30th is, "Life is about using the whole box of crayons." It's a pretty good one. And I have your math problem. I'll be posting this as an assignment for you. I'll hold it up here and talk about what I would like you to do with this. So we have a 7-digit number here. I want you to look at the number. You can write it down so that you have it handy to look at. And there are 3 things that I want you to do with this number. So using this whole amount right here, First, I want you to tell me what the value of the underlined digit is. So I have one number underlined there. Tell me what the value is. How much is that number worth? Then I want you to round this number to the underlined digit. That's the number that you are rounding. So think about our rounding rules. And then the last thing I want you to do is I want you to write this number out in word form. So when you look at this number written in standard form right now, think about the words that you would say to read it and record it out written in words, how you would say that number. Okay, that's your math problem of the day. And last week, since we finished our Super Fudge book, I thought we would start a new one today. We're going to start reading the book Frindle by Andrew Clements. And I have to admit, I had never read this one before, so I started reading it over the weekend to be a little bit ahead of what I'm reading out loud for you guys. So Frindle starts on chapter 1 called Nick. If you ask the kids and the teachers at Lincoln Elementary School to make 3 lists, all the really bad kids, all the really smart kids, and all the really good kids, Nick Allen would not be on any of them. Nick deserved a list all his own, and everyone knew it. Was Nick a troublemaker? Hard to say. One thing's for sure, Nick Allen had plenty of ideas, and he knew what to do with them. One time in 3rd grade, Nick decided to turn Miss Deaver's room into a tropical island. What kid in New Hampshire isn't ready for a little summer in February? So first, he got everyone to make small palm trees out of green and brown construction paper and taped them onto the corners of each desk. Miss Deaver had only been a teacher for about 6 months, and she was delighted. That's so cute! The next day, all the girls wore paper flowers in their hair, and all the boys wore sunglasses and beach hats. Miss Deaver clapped her hands and said, "It's so colorful." The day after that, Nick turned the classroom thermostat up to about 90 degrees with a little screwdriver he had brought from home. All the kids changed into shorts and t-shirts with no shoes. And when Miss Deaver left the room for a minute, Nick spread about 10 cups of fine white sand all over the classroom floor. Miss Deaver was surprised again at just how creative her students could be. But the sand got tracked out into the hallway, where Manny the custodian did not think it was creative at all, and he stomped right down to the office. The principal followed the trail of sand, and when she arrived, Miss Deaver was teaching the hula to some kids near the front of the room, and a tall, thin, shirtless boy with chestnut hair was just spiking a Nerf volleyball over a net made from 6 t-shirts tied together. The 3rd grade trip to the South Seas ended suddenly. But that didn't stop Nick from trying to liven things up. Lincoln Elementary needed a good jolt once in a while, and Nick was just the guy to deliver it. About a year later, Nick made the great blackbird discovery. One night he learned on a TV show that red-winged blackbirds give this high-pitched chirp when a hawk or some other danger comes near. Because of the way sound travels, the hunter birds can't tell where the high-pitched chirp is coming from. The next day, during silent reading, Nick glanced at his teacher, and he noticed that Mrs. Avery's nose was curved, kind of like the beak of a hawk. So Nick let out a high, squeaky, blackbird peep. Miss Avery jerked her head up from her book and looked around. She couldn't tell who did it, so she just said, "Shh," to the whole class. A minute later, Nick did it again, louder. Beep! This time there was a little giggling from the class, but Miss Avery pretended not to hear the sound. And about 15 seconds later, she slowly stood up and walked to the back of the classroom. Without taking his eyes off his book and without moving at all, Nick put his heart and soul into the highest and most annoying chirp of all. Beep! Mrs. Avery pounced. "Janet Fisk, you stop that this instant." Janet, who was sitting 4 rows away from Nick, promptly turned white, then bright crimson. "But it wasn't me. Honest." There was a catch in Janet's voice, as if she might cry. Mrs. Avery knew she had made a mistake, and she apologized to Janet. "But someone is asking for big trouble," said Mrs. Avery, looking more like a hawk every second. Nick kept reading, and he didn't make a peep. At lunchtime, Nick talked to Janet. He felt bad that Mrs. Avery had pounced on her. Janet lived in Nick's neighborhood, and sometimes they played together. She was good at baseball, and she was better at soccer than most of the kids in the whole school, boys or girls. Nick said, "Hey, Janet, I'm sorry you got yelled at during reading. It was my fault. I was the one who made that sound." "You did?" said Janet. "But how come Mrs. Avery thought it was me?" So Nick told her about the blackbirds, and Janet thought it was pretty interesting. Then she tried making a peep or two, and Janet's chirps were even higher and squeakier than Nick's. She promised to keep everything a secret. For the rest of Nick's 4th grade year, at least once a week, Mrs. Avery heard a loud peep from somewhere in her classroom. Sometimes it was a high-pitched chirp, and sometimes it was a very high-pitched chirp. Mrs. Avery never figured out who was making that sound, and gradually she trained herself to ignore it. But she still looked like a hawk. To Nick, the whole thing was just one long and successful science experiment. And Janet Fisk enjoyed it too. I'll stop right there for the day. Hope you have a great day. Make sure to get all of your assignments completed for the day and then do something fun. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.